The judge overseeing the Idaho College murders trial giving the defense one last chance to try to convince him to allow them to present an alternate perpetrator theory to the jury.
Receive the defense's proffer regarding alternate perpetrators. That will be sealed. Provide me with whatever actual evidence you have that supports those allegations, rather than just allegations.
Let's bring in Anjanette Levy. She is a host of the Law and Crime Network. When you hear the judge, Anjanette, say, bring me the evidence, it sounds like the proffer didn't include a lot of actual evidence. It just sort of maybe put forward some theories or something.
Yeah, it certainly sounds like that, John, and thanks so much for having me. The judge has been pretty clear that they're going to have to meet certain guidelines for him to allow this alternate perpetrator theory in. The defense has already indicated that they're going to go with a theory that there were two killers and two weapons involved. They have an expert who's going to testify for them that there were two weapons involved in these crimes because the injuries to the four victims in the case were different and caused possibly by two different weapons. So it will be interesting to see what they ultimately present. As you heard, the judge said these things are under seal right now, so we don't know who they're offering up as these alternate suspects, but there is case law in Idaho that says they have to meet a certain standard in order to present this evidence to the jury.
But the key to the case, the thing that really led to the arrest of Bryan Kohberger, is DNA that was found on the knife sheath inside the home, and the authorities say it's Bryan Kohberger's DNA. So even if there was somebody else involved, it would seem that the case against Kohberger is pretty strong.
It does seem like a very strong piece of evidence, and we don't know how exactly the defense is going to attack that. It is Kohberger's DNA on the knife sheath, but they've suggested that it could have been transferred onto that knife sheath by somebody else. And they've always said in these pretrial hearings, how did that knife sheath get there? So it will be interesting to see how the defense explains Bryan Kohberger's DNA being on the inner snap of that knife sheath. I actually have one of those sheaths here in my office. I could show it to you in just a second, but it's on the inner snap of that knife sheath. They didn't test the top of the knife sheath button. They tested the inner snap, and that is where the DNA was found. Plus, they have those Amazon records, John, that show that Bryan Kohberger, or at least somebody in his family, they're suggesting possibly somebody in his family could have purchased the knife sheath, bought that knife sheath and sharpener and knife in March of 2022, months and months before the homicides.
Meantime, there is this huge controversy roiling the case about evidence that NBC Dateline was able to put on air. They have actual footage of what they say is Kohberger's car circling the crime scene on the night of the killings and then racing away from the killings. There are some other very incriminating pieces of evidence, and all of that stuff was supposed to be under seal. Here's some of it. Kohberger's AT&T phone records, the content of his cell phone, photos and information associated with his Amazon account, and again at the top there, the surveillance footage of what police say was his car. The judge is not happy about this.
No, the judge is absolutely furious, and he didn't show a lot of emotion during that hearing the other day, but he's furious, and he wants a special prosecutor appointed to investigate the source or the source of this leak, or he wants the leaker or leakers. It could be more than one person leaking this information, because this is information that only law enforcement or the prosecutors would have been privy to. They had actual information from Bryan Kohberger's phone. They had photographs, selfies of him, his Google searches. They had his Amazon records, some of which we knew about from pretrial motions. But really, they had insider information. And they even said that in an interview that Keith Morrison did with a reporter. They said that, they had the goods, and they felt like they had a lot of the evidence that would be presented at trial. So they got it from an inside source. And the judge said in the order that he presented to the prosecution, ordering them to preserve all communications and records, that he suspected it was likely a member of the prosecution team, a former member of the prosecution team, a member of law enforcement, or maybe a former member of law enforcement. So he suspects this leak came from the state side of things, not the defense.
Whoever released that evidence probably thought they were helping buttress the case against Bryan Kohberger, but could result in suppression of some of that evidence, some of it being thrown out of the case. We'll see.
That is very possible, and it could. The judge said it could make it much harder to seat a jury, and he may have to end up sequestering the jury.
All right, Anjanette Levy, it's good to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.